Hi everyone, it's Catherine here from Bingy Finger Cat and I'm back with another colour cube challenge where I get a random number generator to generate a number for the box and I select that card and then I go with whatever I feel like creating. And at first I pulled out those bits of cardstock, but they were very much more the blue than the greens. So then instead I decided to use my Waffleflower newish to me stamp set that I bought in the sale. I think it's called Morning Love or Good Morning or something along those lines. It's kind of got like bathroom shelves, which sounds random, but they're plants and vases and things on a shelf. But there are also some random bathroom items. I don't use the bathroom items, just the plants on the shelves. And I started off by picking out colours. Now, I know tumbled glass is definitely more on the blue side, but it was the closest I'd kind of got to that very pale mint, sea foamy type colour. If I had soft sea foam from Stampin' Up, that probably would have been a better colour, but I don't have that. So instead I went with tumbled glass for my lightest colour, but I stamped it multiple times. You'll have seen that I first of all just went with hand stamping, but it was definitely not going to be dark enough or good enough. Distress ink's not brilliant for stamping with. It does the job, it's fine, but it's not brilliant. But you know, it's what I'd chosen to work with today was my distress inks, so that's what I went with. The other colours I chose, I know that there's 4 colours plus a sort of very, very dark green black. I just went with black for that. I went with evergreen bough and I went with pine needles. So I only went with 4 colours for a start, and yeah, I just sort of basically went tealy themed colours. And I'm basically just taking the stamps that I've got and stamping a little scene with my little flowers. What I've realised very much later on in this card making episode is that the plant vase on the right hand side is meant to be just a decorative vase with a jar lid or a cork in the top, and so shouldn't really have stamped it as a floral element coming out the top. But do you know what, most people wouldn't notice that that's what that's meant to be. I certainly didn't until the very end, when I added Wink of Stella at the very end, and I thought, oh, that's to fill in the pattern on the vase. I get it. Dull. But never mind. So at this point I've got a very pretty little scene of some vases with some flowers or plants coming out of them, and now I have to decide what to do. So I decided that the best way to create something that's the same colours is to ink my own background. And so I went really inky and quite grungy looking, I suppose, and I ended up with all sorts of different pattern going on in this background. I love it, absolutely love it. It looks a bit splotchy, it's fine, doesn't matter. This is me just trimming it down so it's the right size to go on the front of a card. But yeah, I just went in and went with loads of inks, and you'll see in a minute I also then decide, right, I'm going to do some stenciling. So I went and grabbed my stencil box and found this one that had got like half of it is floral and half of it is kind of filigree type thing. So I used the kind of filigree lacy kind of pattern on opposite corners. And then I decided, nope, it needs more. So I took, there is some like, they look like they're probably meant to be cotton balls in a jar, but these are the cotton balls. So I took those and just made them into a background element and did it with the evergreen bough, so it was kind of in the background, and just kind of did that. And then I took this sort of leafy sprig and decided that this one would do in pine needles, so it'd be more vibrant. Still very much a background element, but just basically darkening up those 2 corners. Now at this point I realised I haven't really brought in the dark green or that black, so I went in with black at this point and did distressing around the edges. And then I brought in a black piece of cardstock, and then I thought, oh, I need to do something with framing this element. Hindsight, I wish I'd have just mounted it on black rather than darkening it up and sort of making it go grey. I don't dislike it, I just I think I would have preferred a more vibrant panel. Although, to be honest, when I've put my sentiment on it, it looks fine. So at this point, I thought, right, I feel like I need to do something else. And so I spotted these rub-ons that were in my basket to the left-hand side of me and thought, perfect, these are 49 Market rub-ons. I think it's called Ocean, the colour, but I could be wrong. I'm now nowhere near my stuff, so I'm just going to guess at that. And I used 2 of the 3 strips. I just cut one of them off so that I could put it in a couple of places, and just created some elements that were of interest in the corner of both the tag, the banner, and the corner of the card blank. Not the card blank, the card background. Gosh, I am tired. Okay, I did put some scrap cardstock underneath that square element just to raise it up a little bit, but not so that it's as raised up as the foam adhesive would give me. I then chose this For You sentiment, which is die cut from an Alex Siberia. It comes with the 3 dies, the die that creates the words and the die that creates the shadow. The shadow I've done in vellum, and that was pre-done pre this card making session. I did a few from scraps a few days ago. And now I am just adding another of the sentiments underneath, and this is very much a tip I got from Amy at Prairie Paper and Ink. When you're doing your vellum sentiments, is to pop those underneath. It just makes it easier for you to avoid the glue showing through the vellum. And then I stuck that onto the card. I did cover up quite a bit of the actual front focal element, and if I'd have planned ahead, probably would have stamped less to the left hand side and more to the right. Hey ho. Right, I'm going to make myself a card blank. I do make this out of scrap paper, scrap cardstock that's come from a journal. I was just measuring to make sure I had got my dimensions right on my background panel, whether I needed to go for a bigger card, but no, just a normal C6, and then stuck that on the front. Right, next up is I need to create a panel for the inside. Again, I just grabbed some scrap cardstock from the scraps. It is actually kind of creamy in colour, but it's fine. It doesn't matter that on the inside it's just a slightly different colour. And then I'm just choosing one of those little elements in order to decorate the inside, and then just using my blending brush without adding any ink to add a little bit of blue. And then here I am just adding a little bit of Wink of Stella to each of those sprigs, and that's my job done. I really like this. It's very different from the last cards I've made. I think it's good fun. I hope you've enjoyed it too. Please do subscribe if you want to see more. There is a playlist of these colour challenges. And yeah, tell me what you like about it. I'd love to see you again. So thank you so much for watching. And until next time, goodbye.